Okay, so what we're gonna do, because again, there's two different groups of students. There's the students that have the little pizza wedge, and then I have students that have the squares. The same concept is gonna happen. Good morning. It just depends. There's like a slight variation, but it's still the same. Now, if you have your journal, you're gonna find that page that you chose, or a page if you don't matter. And what you're going to do, where's my page? I have like a bedroom, there we go. And what you're gonna do is you're going to outline your template. So, and this is why, let me kind of give a little background. So you guys picked one of the two. You picked either doing the cross or the X. Now, what's gonna happen is we need those lines to help us know where to put our template. So we have to put those lines on our page. And there's a couple ways you can do this, but not everyone has their extra piece of the paper. You could take that piece that you cut and like trace that one quadrant and then just finish those lines. Or you could get a ruler and measure your paper, find the middle. Or, because everyone has their template, you can trace your template. And I'll show you that right now, okay? I'm gonna start with, actually, I'm gonna start with the people that have the pizza wedge, because this is slightly easier. So if you have the little pizza wedge, what you're going to do, and this is just an extra paper because obviously I'm teaching this a million times today. If you have the little pizza pie wedge, all you're going to do is go from one corner to the other corner and draw a line. Now, if you're like, Mr. Tunde, I don't have a ruler, you can get a notebook, you can get a ruler. For those of you here in class, I have a ruler up front. It doesn't really matter. Whatever has an edge, too short, anything about it. Oh, hello. And I'm just gonna draw a line from one corner to the other corner, diagonal, right? Because that's how we did in the beginning. I don't wanna fold the paper. Like I know for some of you that you don't have your journal, you're like, oh, well, I'll just fold it. If you fold it, like those creases never go away, and that would bug me. Like maybe it doesn't bug you, it would bug me a lot. Good morning. So there's one, and now I'm gonna go the other way. And you just wanna do this very lightly. We're going to erase this at the end, but we wanna be able to see it. So don't go super light, but don't use a pen either, okay? So if you have the pizza pie wedge, that's what you're gonna do for your page, because this is now our actual project. The template is just to help us, is to facilitate our art. Those are the pizza pie wedge people. Now, if you're doing the cross, use your template, because you measured your page. So either you just had an extra piece of paper, or in your journal, you measured that paper, so this is still the same size. Just go to one corner. For me, what I would do, I was like, where's my journal? If you're using your journal page, I wouldn't start in this corner, like where the seam of your journal is, because that's a little bit wonky. Sometimes depending on how you folded it, it may not be right. I would start on this edge, like the edge of the paper. And then you're going to trace. Okay, so I'm going to do that on my extra paper. So let's say this was the part that's attached to my journal, and this is the page that flips. I'm just going to put that square there in the corner and just make a light line. Okay, so there's half of my cross. And then I'll just move this down. And what you'll notice, or I think I'm too far away for you to see it. My template is a little bit shorter than my page. That's okay. Because really, I just care about the crosshairs. I want to make sure my template is touching the lines I just drew. Because I care about that. I care about that being even. I don't mind if there's like a weird border around there. And then I'll go this way. Basically, I'm using my template almost like a ruler. Okay. Also, too, while you guys are doing this, if you have it, because I thought of this right now when I was looking at my template, like I had drawn a circle and then I put a button on top to see how well I drew it, and it was horrible. If you have old pencil lines, think about erasing them. You don't want them to like confuse you. So if you have old pencil lines, just go back, erase them, just so you see your pen. What I'm going to show you is the same thing for both, whether you have the cross or you have the X. Okay. And what that is you're going to want to think about transferring in a clockwise direction. Clockwise direction. And I'll show you that right now. So we'll always start in the left, and then we'll go to the right, and then we'll go down, and then to the left. So it's always going to be in this like clockwise. Same thing with if you have the X, same thing. We'll start at the top. Good morning. Then we'll go to the side, the bottom, to the left. It's always going to be in that clockwise rotation. What we're going to do with your template, you're going to have two sides. So you have the side you had your pen, and I want you on this side to put the letter A. It doesn't matter where you put it, just so that way you can see it. Put the letter A. And then on your paper, this is for the people that have the cross paper. There you guys can see it. This is how I want you to write your letters, because we're going to do A, B. Okay, so we're going to go, and just at the top, you're just going to be at the tops and the bottoms. So at the top of your left square, you're just going to put a letter A, light, don't like, put in a marker. On the right, you're going to put the letter B. A, B. Here at the bottom right, this is where it gets a little tricky. You're going to put the letter A upside down. Upside down. So I'm going to put the letter A. And if you guessed it, yes, this last one, the bottom left, is the letter B upside down. So we're just prepping our page to get started, okay? So that's for the people that have the X, the cross. Now, if you have the X, let's do the same thing. At the top pizza quadrant, you're just going to write the letter A. Doesn't have to be big. Doesn't have to be big. Now for you guys, too close, right there. Focus, there you go. Our next quadrant here on the right, it's going to be the letter B, but the B is sideways. It's going to look like this. Letter B. Now you guessed it, the one right below, it's going to be the letter A upside down. and then the letter B going the other way. Let me draw this so it's a little bit more noticeable which way it's going. There we go. And the letter B going the other way. Okay, so this is prepping our page, and this is gonna help us because obviously class ends and you guys have to leave, or let's say those of you at home, your mom's suddenly like, I need you to clean your room right now. You're gonna step away from the project. So this will help us remember what we're supposed to do next and how it's gonna go, what part, that type of thing. So I'm gonna leave these right here for those that are still labeling. What we're gonna do now is on your template, we put the letter A, and we don't have B yet. We don't have B yet. What you're going to do, I'm gonna put some music on because this is gonna take a little while. On the back of your template, you're gonna get pencil, has to be pencil, and you're gonna trace over all of your lines. Trace over all of the lines that you drew. So for instance, here was an example I did last week. And now I have the pencil on the back. Okay, so I'm gonna give you guys some time to do that. You're just gonna get your pencil and you're just gonna trace over. That's why we needed the pen to outline and paint. So that way you could see your lines a little bit better. And you're just gonna trace over all of your lines. Now, you wanna put a good amount of pencil on there. So for instance, out of the way. Here is my template. I'm going to just start off with this one line, this little arch that you can kind of see. And I'm not going to put a thin line. It's almost like I'm coloring those lines. The lead in our pencil is going to act like a stamp. So you don't want to put, like, for instance, I have these little triangles. You don't want to put just like a little line that's like very faint. You want to give like a good amount of pencil on this back part. Okay, so you guys go ahead and do that. Again, this is for both of you guys. If you have your square or if you have your pizza wedge, you have to trace over those lines on the back as well. Like I know I was showing my square, but all of you guys should be tracing your lines. So this is the point you're gonna need your tape. And again, you don't need a lot, just enough to kind of just like stick it to the paper, to your table, you know, whatever. I'm just gonna get a little bit. There. Now, on the back side, just like how we put the letter A, you're gonna write the letter B. Write the letter B. Because like always, this is just going to help us when we have to stop, because obviously there will be times that we have to stop. So those of you that have the cross hairs paper, I'm going to start with you first. And then those that have the pizza pie wedge. Do you guys even call it a pizza pie? You just say pizza, huh? I'm old. It's okay. Pizza wedge. I'm going to start with you next. What you'll notice is that your letter is going to follow the path that we're doing. Like I'm going to kind of give you a preview of what's going to happen this whole time. So when I need to go to this bottom right quadrant, what I should see on my template is an upside down A. Right? When I go to my bottom left quadrant, what I should see is an upside down B. That's also backwards. Like my letter should match my template. It shouldn't be like that. You know, I'm not putting my template like this. It should match your quadrant. So we're always going to start with A. Again, we're always doing clockwise. Start in the left, and we're going to slowly rotate down. I know this is like, I get it, Mr. Archinda, you showed us right now. I know, but there's always that one student. So my page is pretty much the size of my template. So where do I put the tape? I'm just going to pick a part like one of the edges of the rest of the paper to put my tape, just to hold it in place. What I'm lining up is the edge of the template to those lines. Remember, that corner of your template should be right at that radius. As best as you can, you know, if you like, don't burn your template because it's not lining up right. You know, just, you know, as best you can. You can always fix the little like odd lines later. So I'm just gonna put my tape there. Now my template can move a little bit, but not a lot. If you're like, Miss Artunde, I need to make sure this doesn't move because it will destroy me. That's cool. I understand. Get another piece of tape. Make sure it's lined up on your guiding lines. And now it's there. This is also how we're going to save our template as like class ends kind of thing. Now, all you're going to do with your pencil, go over all of your lines. Go over all of your lines. This has a dual purpose, meaning we put pencil lead, that graphite, on the back of our template. So that's going to be a stamp. Because we're going over our lines with pencil on the front, when we flip it to B, now the front is ready to be stamped. Does that make sense? Yes. So I'm just going to do just a few of my lines so I can show you. Again, this is always the trickiest part because it's in pen. Before you take the tape off, do kind of a little bit of a peek, because sometimes we don't see that we've added our pencil because it's in pen. And so you might miss a line. Now you guys might be like, oh, that's okay, I'll just draw it in myself. I don't do that. I'm too OCD. There's a little bit of OCD that I want this to be exactly like how I did it. And I'm worried that if I draw the line and not do this stamp version, it's not going to look right and it's going to drive me crazy. Because it will. The only caution I give is don't keep doing like a peekaboo thing. Like let it reveal itself at the end. So try to get all of your lines. I usually start in one like corner and I'll just slowly, very methodically trace over all my lines. Then I'll do a quick peek. Did I get everything? Don't keep peekabooing with your template just because you might shift it slightly. You know, you might forget to line it up with the lines, and then sadness will pour out of your heart and your mind. Don't do it. So I'm going to do it just that way I can kind of show you what's going to happen. Be careful with removing your tape. Remember, you don't want to pull or rip your paper. So now it's transferring over. It's like a stamp, basically. So those of you that have the pizza wedge, same thing. I don't have my pencil on here, but you do. Same thing. You have that letter A. And then right on the back, same thing. You have that letter B. And it's going to do exactly like what the other group is doing. You're going to start off at A, right? So my A's look identical. When I start to do that clockwise rotation, my wedge letters should match. They should not be opposite. I shouldn't have my letter A where my letter B is. And it shouldn't be, you know, like B, but upside down. One, and obviously you'll kind of see that. My letters should match up. And then we flip it, my letters match up. And then when I flip it again, my letters match up. I know, it's amazing, right? I know, I love this. I love this assignment. Same thing, you want to make sure you line up your radius, that very, very tip of your pizza wedge, to the very, very center of that X. Put your tape. Especially with the pizza wedge one, I usually do two, just because it tends to curl a lot. Put your tape and now start tracing. And again, you'll notice my template is slightly smaller than my paper. That's okay. It doesn't matter that your paper might be smaller because we're going with the radius. We're going with the very center of the paper. So it's gonna look fine. So don't think, oh, I have to trim my paper. You don't. You can, but you don't have to.